first, before we begin, man, and before we get into you, we were just having a conversation off camera. And I know as a podcaster now, I know that whenever we start having these juicy talks, we just need to go ahead and throw it onto the mic. So
just hit record.
What was I just complaining and whining about? I was just complaining and whining about making the pivot to hiring my first full-time virtual assistant for me in my company. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, I've got like 120 that work for me. So I think this is a great place to start, man. Let's walk this backwards, because give the advice that you just gave to me.
Your listeners are going to be like, geez, like he's hitting the ground hard. Yeah, let's go for it.
I'm sorry. I mean, we can warm them up. Are y'all okay with this? People listening? Are you fine with just diving into massive levels of value? You good? Okay, cool. Great. Felipe, kill it.
Yeah, dude. So when we jumped on to hit the record button, that's where the juicy stuff is actually. You were talking about getting a VA and how like you're scared to get your first VA. And there's a couple of reasons I believe that people are scared to get their first VA. And then I'll talk about why I have so many. I think people are chicken shit to get a VA because they don't want to look inside their business and where they have faults at. That's the reality. Because it's not about keeping them busy. It's not about whether they're going to be good or not, because they may not. And we're all human. And you might go through 3 or 4 before you find the right one. And whose fault is that? It's not the VA, it's you. Because you're not training well enough, whatever. So you're sharpening a new sword for your business, and that's scary. And as entrepreneurs, we tend to be doing new stuff all the time. So you kind of got to get used to that uncomfortableness. But what happens with a VA is if you're like, okay, I get a lead that comes in, then what's next? The VA puts that lead in a warm lead section and then tells me to follow up, and then it moves to this place and this is. And then what happens is you have to take an internal look into your business and where are you succeeding and where you're not doing good. And people are scared to do that, right? It's like looking into your own finances, but now you're looking into your businesses and where you have weak links. So like people subconsciously are like afraid or maybe not subconsciously are afraid to do that. So they never get a VA because someone's going to look into their business at the nuts and bolts of stuff.
Yeah.
I was telling you, like, yeah, I have about 100. I started a company called REI Call Center. Basically, we help investors in real estate, realtors, investors, buy and hold investors, whatever, find off-market opportunities at a very affordable rate. And we have about 120 virtual assistants that help our business.
Yeah. And the reason that it's such a hang up for me is, for me personally, it's going from, and this is why I wanted to be able to say this and start with this with Felipe, because it's something that I am going through right now. So all of you can use me as your chopping block and as your person that's going out into the wilderness to blaze the trail. And you can use me as your case study and your example. So for me, I'm going from the corporate mindset where I just left my job. Actually, it was a month ago. So I'm going from having my real estate and all this as a side hustle to now this is a full time. So I had a virtual assistant part-time for about 20 hours for the last month.
Yep.
And sometimes you struggle to figure out, okay, how do I keep them busy? What do I give them? What do I give them to keep them busy? And then, so I'm over here, and this is my first remote podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm over here in San Francisco, staying at my buddy's house. Calvin Shin, first episode that was on this podcast. And he was talking about, dude, make her full time and figure it out.
Yeah.
He's $7 an hour. That's $1,200 a month. For me and my scarcity mindset, I'm like, holy crap, that's a lot. But he's like, dude, that's 13 grand a year. He goes, do you think having someone work for you full time, 40 hours a week for an entire year would yield more than $13,000? I was like,
great way to look at it.
Like 10x on a bat, like 10x. If she yields me $130,000, like I failed.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at right now.
It's cool because like he or she is going to fail to the level that you train them. And if it was me, like personally, I would rather fail on a $7 an hour employee than an employee that could have been a rock star and I missed out on because I'm not a good leader. So don't even look at it as, oh, it's a $13,000 investment. Think about it as a $13,000 investment in your leadership skills. Are you a good leader? Let's find out, right?
Extreme ownership.
100%.
Always ask yourself, what can I do? If your employee fails, first person you should look at is the mirror.
For sure.
First person you should look at. Did I clearly set deadlines, expectations, how to attack this? Did I do that? If 9 times out of 10, it's a you problem.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to go through that, man. And so now it's going to be a change, to say the least, and it's going to be huge because I'm traveling around the world. But anyways, man, let's dive into freaking REI Call Center. How the heck did you get that started? What was that trajectory and that journey?
Yeah. So it all started like most of my businesses that have been successful have started. It was like a 11 or midnight, just winding down situation. I was laying in bed, getting ready to knock out. And I had this idea of, we had just gotten a VA from one of my members at Rat Race to Fi in my mastermind. And he had gotten a virtual assistant to help him cold call for his real estate business. And he gave me one and it didn't work out. And then he gave me another one, didn't work out. And he gave me a third and it finally worked out with that person. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. And I was like, wait a minute. And his name is Anton. He's our CEO. I was like, Anton, are you doing this for other people too? He's like, yeah, like people reach out to me all the time for VAs and I don't mind handing them off. I'm like, awesome. That's great. And then we were running into and then he was running into the issue of like where people, I don't want to say they were complaining, but they were like, yo, can I get another one? It's like, yeah, because I didn't work. So Anton started, because he's a really good guy. So he just started giving these things away and he would hire them, train them, and then give them, and they would quit. And I was like, Anton, we need to make this into a business if we're going to be like more involved, if that makes sense. And that's what happened. Like I reached out to Anton. I was like, yo, can you find the VAs? I'll put branding and the business behind it. Can we do this? And he goes, yeah. I was like, all right. So I reached out to Diego Corzo, my business partner. I don't do hardly any businesses without him. And I'm like, yo, what do you think about this? And he was like, great, let's do it. I'll help you through it. I'll do all the logistics and all the behind the scenes stuff. I was like, great, perfect. I got us together on a Zoom and I added one more business partner, Adam, and I gave Anton 40% of the business. I gave myself 20, Diego 20, and Adam 20. So at any point we could veto if we don't like something that he's doing, but he also does a lot more work than we do. So we gave him majority stake in the business. But all they would take is me and one other person and that's like checks and balances for myself, that it's not just me like wanting to do something different than my CEO. It's like I would have to convince Adam or Diego, who are also vested in the business, to change something. If for any reason Anton didn't want to do something. Well, that's how it started. And now Anton runs the business the day to day. We have about 75, closer to 85 clients. I believe we're almost at 100. And what we do, like I said, is we help real estate professionals find off-market opportunities without having to spend thousands of dollars a month. At REI Call Center, I can basically guarantee that you'll get off-market deals for less than $1,500 a month in any market.
I feel 99% of people would be jammed in that equity split because they couldn't get past giving up control and giving up an ownership position in the company that they're deciding to air quote start. Talk a little bit about your strategy there and how you're so willing to give up equity to the right people to make this thing happen.
Yeah, I'll start from the top and then I'll explain why. So I heard Jeff Bezos one time say, there's two things in the interview. They asked him, dude, you're like a bajillionaire, right? Super billions of dollars. Don't you feel terrible about that? And he goes, no, that just means I've made more millionaires than any person in history. And like that blew me away. And then the second thing that was asked was like, oh, how do you feel about owning a majority stake in Amazon? That's too much power. And he's, I own 11%. And like that also 11 or 13%. Yeah, something like super low. Someone should cross check me on that, but I'm almost 100% sure that's exactly what it is. But I read that and I was like, that resonated with me. That means, dude, he's got have to have a lot of confidence in the other people that whatever. But what was interesting was like Anton, I was like, dude, you're going to do a lot of the work. You're going to be face first. Like, you're going to take a lot of the slack. So, you got to run the day to day. And I wanted to check some balance myself because I know how I am. I'm very like loud or whatever. And I was like, okay, I don't want to make a decision out of an emotion that's not best for REI Call Center without someone else cross-referencing me. And that was me putting trust in Diego and Adam. So if Diego was like, no, Felipe, I don't think that's a great idea, then I would go to Adam. And if he was like, yeah, I think that's a great idea, then between us two, we have enough say with Anton to like where we can have a meeting. So I would have to convince another partner or whatever. Now, if both of them say no, then my decision is void, right? And we've had that. We've had a situation, I won't be going into specifics, where I was like, I don't think we should do that. I don't agree with that. And Diego and Adam both agreed that we should. So I was like, okay, great. That's what we're going to do if that's what's best for the business. And like you said, that was just me like being across, making sure that I don't have too much power because I love our business. I know what we're doing and I want to even protect it sometimes from myself.